Thanks. Calling to order the East Dundee Board, regular board meeting, Monday, July 6th. It is 6:05. Caleb is.
Happy to do it.
Caleb, will you call the roll?
Yes. Trustee Saviano.
Here.
Trustee Kunze.
Present.
Trustee Mahoney.
Here.
Trustee Oakland.
Here.
Trustee Guma.
Here.
Trustee Sauter.
Here.
And then President Pearson's absent.
President Pearson will be, he's on his way. He'll be a few minutes late for the record.
Should we do a motion to seat?
Yes.
Yeah. So we'd like to do a motion to seat Trustee Mahoney until President Pearson arrives.
So moved. Can I do that?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
All right. Let's say the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alrighty. I just need a motion for the, is there any public comment? Motion for the consent agenda?
Yeah, I will move to approve the regular village board meeting minutes dated June 15th, 2026. I will also move to accept the warrants list in the amount of $439,884.15. And I will move to approve a resolution adopting the East Dundee Bike and Pedestrian Plan.
Second.
Does anybody need to discuss any item on the consent agenda or make comment on it? No, we're good? Okay.
Trustee Saviano.
Yes.
Trustee Kunze.
Yes.
Trustee Mahoney.
Yes.
Trustee Oakland.
Yes.
Trustee Guma.
Yes.
Trustee Sauter.
Yes.
Okay. Then, do I need a motion or can I call recess until, can I call recess? Sure. I'd like to call recess until approximately 6:20, pending the arrival of our president. Need a second? Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. We're in recess.
The meeting, restart the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
And then we
We'll just let the record reflect that President Pearson arrived at 6:09 p.m. for the minutes.
And you can take over from here.
Okay. All right, we're on to other agenda items. Discussion and direction regarding the tree preservation and removal regulations. This, I brought this up about the, what had happened over on Van Buren. Thank you. Van Buren. I told the residents I would talk about it. It's something that I don't know that I think that the board needs to get too involved in, but I just want to hear everybody's opinion.
Well, I do think it's important for us to discuss it because we haven't had that many situations where someone on their private owned property has done that. We did have one on Duncan with a business that took down a bunch of trees. And so now this is the second time that we're seeing a bunch of old trees being removed in droves. And so I do think it's something to bring up, whether or not we make a regulation, we need to talk about it at least, because it's really hard to watch. I'm not sure what we need to do about it, but it's hard to see from my perspective.
Yeah, I do agree that it does seem like there might be certain zones that are more important to the community than others, like along the riverfront that serves a huge purpose. So that is something that should be protected. Ones that are heritage trees that are like 24 inches wide, or the larger ones, and ones that I feel like on Van Buren it was an important area because it blocks busy traffic on Van Buren from a whole neighborhood behind there, so it kind of affects the neighboring houses behind there.
Their privacy.
So maybe it's a backyard is maybe not quite as strict as certain zones that are more important. and then maybe larger trees could be flagged as like a heritage tree has some rules, but if it's like, I feel like 6 inches is maybe a little too small for just basic landscaping, but maybe 8 inches or 12 inches.
Canopy size, you know, like
Or
the
canopy
diameter.
size. And maybe there's a, you know, you can cut one down in your backyard once a year, and that's not a problem. But once you start doing multiple, I feel like if we do that, we'd also need a fine so that, like on Duncan, when they just level a whole bunch of them, or any of these, if it's only a $500 fine, you'll just do it anyway and be like, oh, well, it's $500. But some fine that's like per inch taken down of a violation would be, you know, $500 per inch that you removed, or something that is weighty enough that you would not do it. But yeah, I want to balance not making it so cumbersome that you can't just do basic maintenance, or if a tree dies in your yard or is diseased, that it should be easy and not bureaucratic.
The reason why I didn't want to make this such a big thing is because 1 or 2 trees in our town isn't a big deal, but when you start getting out to Trustee Mahoney's area where it's heavily wooded, for somebody to come in, and they just recently did that and took down a bunch of trees, a lot of residents have a concern about that. So that's why we're discussing. I don't know how complicated I want to make it. That's why I just want to listen, so I don't mean to interrupt, so.
I do have, as the person who was the spongy moth pain in everybody's butt, and having gone, the village spent a lot of money on controlling and hopefully eradicating the spongy moth. I'm 100% behind, you know, retaining the canopy across the village, and you'll notice I use the word across the village. I don't think this should be confined just to an R1 and an estate zoning. Reason being, okay, I've got 8 oak trees in my front yard and a pear tree. I've got 20 oak trees in my backyard and an oak tree. But one person in an R2 or an R3 that has one big tree and they decide they want to take it down because they want to put a fire pit there, they're taking out 100% of their trees and possibly the canopy that's going to affect the neighbors around them. So anything that would be put in place, I would urge people to do it for all residences, and maybe it's, you know, a matter of, to your point, along the river or vacant properties like that. And I know there's some really good research the team did here on how other people are handling that with new construction or vacant properties that are going to get built on. That's my main concern.
I was looking at this kind of from like 2 perspectives. Like, people buy their property, right? So they buy their house, they pay for it for 30 years. It's kind of a one and done. People do move, but arguably it takes a lifetime to pay for your home. So I always had this view that we got to like have a sovereignty to that, and we don't want to kind of red tape up people's properties. Now there comes that conflicting view of like, how do we protect our canopy? What kind of creative ideas can we do so that people don't feel like they're being violated, but yet we're still reaching an overall goal? And I was thinking about this a couple different ways. And one is I would really like it more focused if we're going to do an ordinance on commercial, industrial, and multifamily properties, because those are for-profit properties and they're a different entity, they're business. And whatever it is, whatever we come up with there can't overall stop development, but it can have this incentive to plant more, something has to be cut down. I like those ideas. I was thinking about how to reach this goal without stepping on people's toes, and I brought it up to Franco, and I don't know how easy it is to do, but like, I know the house I left had a pin oak in the front yard. It's like 5 foot around. It's a gorgeous tree. I still go drive by and look at the tree. Like, if there was a way to voluntarily register your trees so that they were protected, and then if you moved or something like that, it would be disclosed that those are protected trees so that the future owner of the property would be like, well, I can't do anything with them because I bought it knowing they were protected. So that doesn't really have like this overstepping reach. It's more of like an easement, like when you buy a home and you're like, well, there's a utility easement that goes through my backyard. I can't build a garage there. Completely aware of it. So that's kind of balance I was hoping to hit. I do gotta say, when it comes to all of the publicly owned land, I think we need to be extremely vigilant to make sure that it is as natural and tree covered and protected as possible, because that is our shared properties. And I'm open to any ideas. I just don't want to put an ordinance on someone's house where they feel like they have to have an arborist check everything and you put red tape on it. I'm looking at this 8-inch diseased tree out my window and I'm like, the guy before me planted that like a year before I moved in, and I've been debating cutting it down since it was this big, but I wanted to see if it made it. Well, I would have to have a guy come out, look at it under this ordinance, and I'm like, that's not really
Well,
the
that's just the
goal,
thing,
you
because
know?
then we were just talking about all that we would have to have an arborist come out. So depending on the restrictions, do we want to add more cost to the village to be cutting down trees when somebody has a dead tree or whatever they want to do? So that was the concern.
Well, I don't think, when I look at some of the other ordinances from other places, if it's dead, if it's a percentage dead.
Or diseased,
or diseased, it doesn't, you don't necessarily need to have somebody
Correct.
do that.
But whose
Or it
decision
can be
is that?
pretty much obvious for
But
most
whose
people.
decision is that, though, if it's dead or not? Because people can just say that it's dead, and I
Mhm.
just had 20 trees that are dead. So that was a concern. And
Mhm.
most people have 2-3 trees, except for your area on the north side. So how do you regulate? That's what I'm looking for ideas, because it's a tough,
Mhm.
it's tough.
To be honest, I
I
don't
would-
feel like it would be a huge cost, because I don't foresee this being a very common, huge thing where all of a sudden everyone wants to, cut down trees. I think that, I'm okay with like the disease thing or someone coming to check it out. But I also, Matt, I respect that point, and I think that is a good point. And if someone like lives here, we don't want a lot of red tape. However, if they buy their house knowing that we have these certain ordinances and regulations, they're buying it with that information in hand. Now, what it does for those that already live there, do you grandfather them in? Do you set a certain regulation? These are the trees you have, these are the legend, where do we draw that line? So that's the hard part.
That's a
mean,
good
and
point. If you
I-
were to say you would have grandfather clause where people that already own properties would be out of it, but any new purchases, and then we'd have to find a way to regulate, would be a different discussion for sure.
I'm gonna go ahead and say that I'm gonna be a no on this if it does come up to vote. I understand the arguments for it. I love trees just as much as the next person. But I do, we have these issues that come before us every few months where, be it trucks in people's driveways, we want to ban those. Boats in people's driveways, we want to ban those. We had a guy that wanted to build a garage, that we had the neighbors very passionately come and tell us how we had to stop him from building this garage because it was going to ruin their lives. I am a no. I believe in, property rights, and I think the best person to decide what to do with the person's property is that owner. Has anybody ever asked this guy on Van Buren why he cut down all those trees?
Yes, I have.
What
He
did he
said
say?
that he wanted the room for his kids to play.
Okay, so, I mean, that's what he wanted. Why is it our right to say, well, you can't have that?
And, I mean, there's, with this particular situation, he has invested a ton of money back into that property with new driveways and new patios in the back and this, that, and the other thing. And so who knows how much he's improved the property value over, what can't necessarily be captured by kind of a wild area with some trees in it. So, I also don't want to, as far as the registration, which is a cool idea, I also don't want to encumber somebody who's trying to sell their property and that being a discouragement for somebody who's just like, oh my God, this is a $5,000 tree to cut down if it goes bad, this is a whole nother maintenance thing that we need to deal with the village, so there's
I
so
would-
many complicated sides to the situation.
And I thought that the one on Duncan, we later found out was against some law already. That
Mhm.
there was something, part of the
Floodplain.
forest preserve or the county that said he wasn't supposed to do that. So maybe that person didn't know that. And somebody moves into East Dundee and they've got a tree in their yard, they're not gonna know about this ordinance.
Right.
It's the same thing. It's not really gonna probably stop anybody from cutting down a tree. All it's gonna do is give a government in the future the opportunity to selectively find somebody that they don't particularly like, maybe, and now they've got a reason that they can get. I understand. I read the packet about, they have this in Naperville. I would expect them to have this in Naperville. This is not Naperville. They're a middle class town. I'm sorry. I had an arborist at my house actually this week tell me that I have to cut down 2 trees that are over 100 years old because they're failing. It's heartbreaking.
It
It's
is heartbreaking,
devastating. And if then I have to go and convince a government that I have to do that, I would not be interested in doing that. I don't know. I'm sorry. That's all I have to say.
Scott,
Trustee Guma, we haven't heard from you.
I'm just listening. I think a lot of good points. I'm kind of right in the middle on this thing because I love trees and I hate to see them cut down for no reason. But again, it's people's property, and if they want to enhance their property the way they see fit, then they should be able to do that. So it's.
Is that how we are
well,
as a board?
well, and I'll say, like, Scott, I knew that was gonna be your stance without even talking to you.
Knowing you.
But I'm not far away from that. Like, I like, it's my property or it's my business. Let me dictate what I do in it, things like that. Like, I've been across the board. But also, Phil, I have a question. Were we put as like a tree community, or was there something in our, where
Tree
we were a tree city? Like, what does that, what's behind that could like influence some of this potentially?
Point.
The main reasons for being a Tree City USA community are having a tree budget, tree maintenance program, focused on a parkway tree population.
It's parkway trees.
So parkway trees,
Okay.
regional parkway
Okay.
trees.
Okay, I just want to make sure, because, for us being known for that and then being like, that's okay. Like, I don't want to be like,
And if we allocated money to maintain private property trees, that would factor into it, but we obviously probably wouldn't and don't currently, so.
right, okay, I just want to say that out loud.
Do we still have that Parkway Tree program for residents that,
For planting trees?
yeah,
We plant them at 100% village expense, we budget for 40 trees each year.
okay.
And I will offer this, one of our challenges is, I've seen, one of the challenges, moderate challenges in terms of parkway tree plantings, is we've seen a fair amount of resistance or opposition to planting parkway trees. And so we've had a number of residents who've just flat out said, I don't want a tree in my parkway, I don't want to maintain it, I don't want to rake the leaves. I've always considered myself in the forestation business as opposed to the deforestation, so I personally like the idea of having tree-lined parkways in a community. I think it adds character, and there's many other benefits to that, but we have had some challenges with some residents who just do not want a parkway tree. In fact, we had a resident a couple years ago have an ivy bag, and they had a needle and a tube came down, and they injected some type of chemical or poison in the tree, and reported that to the police department. I'm not sure what happened
It's very creative.
subsequent to that, but it was a very unique situation, and they clearly did not want the newly planted parkway tree in their parkway. So it's interesting, but
People get touchy with their property,
So,
they look at that parkway.
What
as
I'm getting from
part of
this
it.
is that the majority of the board probably doesn't want to jump into something that's gonna regulate the trees in our population. Is that true?
Dan, I would say that's true. I just would like to add the one part is incentivize people to do the right thing, I think is probably a good goal we can make. Like, we're talking about some facade improvements and things like that. We might be able to incorporate this to say like a tree planting incentive program or something like that for the people who do like them to do what they can to enhance the community. And then it doesn't step on anybody's rights.
Okay,
All right.
Matt, wait, really quick, sorry. I was going there really quickly. I was thinking instead of it being something punitive, maybe it can be something reward-based, where it's like if you pledge to be, like you have the legend trees or certain trees, like the Conservation Foundation we work with the Arts Council, and they are really excited about working with our community. Maybe there's something where it's like you can get a plaque or something that you are part of this program. We're a tree city, and that is for the parkway trees, but maybe there's something where you can be a part of something else, like with an incentive where you have a historical trees and it's being recognized and thank you for preserving them and we appreciate it, or something where it's not punitive, it's reward based and appreciated. That's my thought.
Yeah.
No, no.
That's good.
Well, officially, I want to go on a record to say I agree with Trustee Coonsey is, this is your property, do what you want. I did remove some trees from my house because of a pool and things like that, but if I were to move over to where Trustee Mahoney lives, I would be concerned with somebody coming and taking down my trees, and the last thing I want to do is regulate somebody that's doing something that's trying to make it better. I think what we had recently was more of an isolated event, and to react to that and to put a hindrance on the rest of the community because of one person, I don't think that's the right move, and I agree that we should have some sort of incentive. Maybe we could discuss that in the future, but I told the people that I would bring it to the board and we would discuss it as a group. I agree with you, and my main concern is because of Trustee Mahoney's out there. She lives that area, so I'd like to know what she said. So I think we can move on right now and maybe think about an incentive program and go from there, and said we shouldn't move forward, right?
I do have one more question about, on Duncan, when they cleared all of those and Scott says, well, it was illegal, because it's on the riverfront, it's holding back the water. That's, everyone, I think, agrees they shouldn't have done that, but there wasn't any enforcement. So in those kind of situations, is there some kind of enforcement that we could add that would disincentivize somebody being like, just clear it, no one's gonna do anything, there's no local rules about this.
Yeah, like
$500 fine maybe, who cares?
right, like even 408 and 406, the properties Barrington up there. You know, there's still some nice old trees up there. You know, is there a way to incentivize these? And maybe that's just within whatever sales agreement we have. But yeah, or incentivize. I think to this point, one good thing to do would be to put out on the biweekly newsletter, you know, that, you know, we do have Treeway, do just an update that,
Parkway
you know,
tree planting
Parkway tree
program.
program, by the way, if you want one, give us a call. And on the ones that, in the areas that you've found people saying that they, you know, they don't want something, you know, what if we gave them, you know, don't hate me, Brandis, I'm just an idea, you know, 2 months off of their utility bills or whatever, to kind of give people incentive. That's probably a bad idea, because it's going to be different for everybody, but, you know, further incentivize that with like a gift certificate, a gift card that they can use at a local business or something.
What if we put a number on it? What if we just say 5 or more trees that you are gonna remove from your property, you just come in front of the board and explain why? It could be a housing issue, it could be a water issue, it could be a dead tree issue, I don't know,
I just feel like if that's relative based on the amount of trees, their property size.
How about we ask our inspector? You got
We've got
anything for
judgment
that, Chris?
calls too on that.
I didn't hear the question.
What's your thoughts on regulating trees in our town?
I'd be opposed to it.
Okay.
I think that people should have the right to maintain their property the way they want it.
Okay. So, I welcome any information that the board wants to send to the rest of the board. Please share it, because obviously we represent our public, so, thank you, Phil.
You know, if I could add.
I think we have our answer.
Can I add maybe
Sure.
one possibility going forward is we purchase our trees from local nurseries that typically only sell via wholesale pricing and wholesale programs. If we came up with a program where residents can, this is just throwing it out there as a possibility, we would purchase the trees for them. They would reimburse us for the trees, but they could plant them on private property. We could incentivize kind of through that type of a program, additional private property plantings, but it would be at their expense. But for example, we could have our purchasing,
We would be the purchasing agent for
Yes.
them. So they would get something at
And
wholesale
delivered.
price, delivered, and then
possibly,
maybe.
and then they would coordinate the plantings
But they're
themselves.
responsible for planting.
Yes, yes.
That's a great
The
idea.
village of
Yeah.
New Lenox
Great
has a
idea,
very
Phil.
similar program to that.
Really?
Yes, I think it's like $500 a tree or something like that.
Most of our trees are right around 3-inch diameter, or between 2 and 2.25 these days. $2 and $225, somewhere in that price range.
As we're working on facade grants and riverfront grants and different things, is there a way to add this into there? Like the whole tree discussion of saying like, hey, and not a must, but like some kind of incentive as we design that, maybe a couple $100 more credited to them if they plant, you know, each tree or something like that, to kind of incentivize it through that too, because we're gonna, it sounds like we're moving in a direction of a facade type riverfront program, so.
Typically, we have, most villages have like 50/50 programs
Like a
for
grant,
like
yeah.
trees, parkway tree planting, sometimes they do sidewalks. But this could just be its program in itself,
Mhm.
because they order once a year, so when you get that group rate, we could extend it to
Mhm.
residents as
Mhm.
well, and they could jump in on those
Yeah.
rates.
I'm saying that'd be separate from that as we were doing the grant programs, to add it into there, maybe into the verbiage to kind of incentivize people planting more trees as they fix up whatever they're doing with their property, that we would say would be better for the public's view, because that's kind of why we have these grants, is to beautify that home or that business for everybody. So,
It could be part of the residential
yeah.
side, I'm sure.
And then I think we should talk to the Conservation Foundation and see if they have anything for like the rewarding houses that have, you
Or forestry, yeah.
know.
Good.
Awesome.
Thanks, Phil. All right, let's move on to B, discussion and direction regarding temporary structures within the B1 downtown business district. Chris, you have anything to add to this before we start talking?
So in general, the state fire marshal sets the code for areas within the state that don't have their own fire code. So they set the minimum standard. It could be a township or a small community. So they have their NFPA 101 life safety code, and it mirrors the building code, where it's 180 days maximum on a tent in a 12-month period. So that's what in the minimum standard. Our code is more stringent than that. We have the fire code that we adopted in conjunction with the fire district. It's talking with other experts on this. It's virtually impossible to make a tent a permanent structure. There are in the code, they're called membrane covered rigid frame structures, which is
Flows right off the tongue.
substantially more than a tent. Yeah, but you're looking at having complied to the electrical code, the mechanical code, the conservation energy code. So it's difficult to get all that incorporated into a temporary structure.
Okay, thank you. All right. Let's start with trustee Saviano. Any input?
Well, I mean, I'm not a fire inspector, but I can say, I can only speak to the aesthetics, that certain ones I don't think, look at that. I mean, we have, safety's important, and then permanency. Like, I don't think something that's considered temporary should become permanent, you know, so I do think we need to do some sort of, regulation on it. It's hard, I don't know. I'm back and forth on it.
Okay.
And its usefulness and necessity and other factors.
Trustee Sauer?
Could we do some kind of special use category on those structured membrane systems, and then say it would have to be inspected every year or 2 years because they do deteriorate over years. So you might have it be fine for 1 year and 3 years later it's starting to deteriorate. But looking at the structure, the wind, the snow load, and make it something they'd have to have a structural engineer confirm it each year, so that it sounds like the use case in our town, that there is a very structurally anchored system that's probably fine right now, but over the years it maybe deteriorates. So is there a way to set our code up in a way that we could have it inspected at their cost, prove whatever requirements we have for snow load and wind, and make it possible but regulated and safe, but something you'd have to continually keep up on, and not in fire retardant material, things like that, I feel like there's a way to make it safe for the 8 or 9 months, so if it was checked and then re-upped to make sure it was still to that caliber, then maybe there is a path for that.
All right. Trustee Quincy, anything?
Well, I guess I would like to hear from our fire inspector. What kind of safety concerns do we have about?
How much fire load do we have inside of the 2 tents we have in our downtown?
Quite a bit. So, whether you guys lower the fire load inside or you don't, problem is we've all adopted, voted on, and accepted codes and ordinances, plain and simple. You can't take a temporary structure per the code, make it permanent because it's not designed to be permanent in nature. There are things that go with that. It's not even just the fire load or the propane tanks with a fire table, or, it's electrical. There's no electrical running there, it's all extension cords, okay? Those aren't supposed to be attached to buildings, it's attached to buildings. They're supposed to be anchored on footings, and they're not. They're spiked in brick with dirt, okay? And this is something that was allowed to get put up and allowed to stay up, and now we gotta try to figure out how to make it work. I understand. So we're willing to align with what you guys decide as a village. I have a list of like 15 recommendations, whatever the case may be, as far as, to answer your question with, loads. There's live loads, there's dead loads, there's snow loads, there's rain loads, there's wind loads, right? That's an engineer's job. That's not mine or Chris's job to determine if this tent can handle 500 pounds of snow. So that person's now gonna have to hire an engineer to figure out if the existing structure that they purchased can handle all that load.
Do the companies that made them have specs on the loads?
If they got them,
Is it,
if they got them,
somebody asked?
yeah, they can
Also,
ask the
so much
company
of
if
this
they
is
have them.
custom. I know the one on River's custom. The other one, I don't know.
What are the 2 that we're talking about, just to be clear?
Well, we have 2 that I know of right in downtown. It's Aliano's and it's the Mockingbird.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, which Mockingbirds, Chris,
It's temporary.
I may be
It's a
wrong.
temp.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
And they've been up since what?
They've been up for
2020?
2.5, 3 years.
It's
So,
been more than that since COVID,
Oh.
hasn't it?
fortunately, me and Chris's eyes were actually on it, so we know what it's a little bit, and she did recently do the extension, so there was talk of come down. So, but yeah, in order to, you would have to do construction drawings, engineer plans, engineer loads. You have to get the tent treated if it hasn't been treated. Interior finishes, the fire alarm's gotta get upgraded because it's only in the back pergola section as of currently. It's not even extended into the tent. Compliance with your guys' zoning, your planning, your annual inspections, absolutely. There's a lot more that goes into it than I look at. His got a longer list than I do, unfortunately.
And are these, are standards for those recommendations already established, or?
Those
or
are
would
established
we-
in code, yeah.
Those are
absolutely.
established already in our code.
That
The
NFPA
different
101
ones.
that Chris brought up is the state's minimum standard.
Right.
And like Chris explained, if you guys were in home rule and you guys didn't adopt the building code or we didn't adopt the fire code, that means no matter where you're at in the state, that's the rule you have to follow. We're almost mirrored that when it comes to the tents and structures, so I mean, we're just trying to catch up right now, figure out what we can do to make it work, and I don't know. I'm lost. So I just threw down what the book requires, and we can maybe discuss it and go from there. Question, anything?
Trustee Guma, anything?
I mean, I get it, but we're putting undue burden on some of these businesses that have, exclusively these two, that have depended on these for 6 years, 7 years.
It's been a while, it's 2020, I thought, since
Mhm.
COVID.
So
I
like
think
6
Alianos
years.
was even before that.
Right.
Mockingbird, I know, has been a number of years. So that's why I was asking if there's existing specs that people that manufactured or installed these units have, that we could present to our inspector or fire marshal.
So yeah, initially, Alianos went up on a 180-day basis, and they were taking it down. And then they subsequently came to the village to ask if they could just piggyback 180 days rotation, taking the sides and the front off during the nicer weather, to still have the patio covered, because it would get too hot in the sunlight. So that was part of the reason of keeping it up, along with the wintertime when they needed that interior dining, because they can't make the numbers work without the seating.
And how long has that been?
Pardon me?
How long has that been since they started doing it round the clock?
I don't know, I would say it was 2019. It might have been the first time it went up.
The extension though, I think was about 2 years ago.
It
Yeah,
was.
the resolution on the extension.
It was, yes, it was extended through 2024, so it might have been 2023 when they started extending it.
Have there been any safety incidents since?
I'm
got it up?
not aware of any
The tent, no.
with the tent, no.
Tent, no.
Okay.
Anything else?
I do take some exception with the classification of undue burden, because in both of these places, they would still have the seating available, it just wouldn't be covered. In fact, I was out on the patio, on that larger patio, before it was covered, and it was really nice. I'm sure some of us other ones were as well. So, they're not losing, and in some cases, you see the other patios that are out here, and they're just as popular, that are uncovered.
Diamond Gyms, they have this hallway of a business, but they have
Yeah.
that beer garden that has
Right.
umbrellas.
Right, I mean, Tequila Valley's, you've got all the 311 Barrington, all of them are all uncovered, and they still make a go of it. So, while, yes, it would be nice, yes, it's gonna cost some money to have to take something down, it's also, it's not taking away any of the seating that they already have.
Sorry, there's no public comment.
There is no public comment?
No, we've already done it at the beginning.
Oh, I came late because I was working. Okay.
Trustee Ackman?
So right now, we're 180 days, 6 months, correct, for this tent to be allowed, like legally allowed, is that correct? Under our
180 days.
180 days. So I look at this kind of like, well, we have to, kind of like how we look at everything, we needed to match everybody. The 180 days was probably a number used through good thinking and stuff like that, but these are obviously used because they want to extend their dining experience. And the number I would be better off with a 9-month number, so they have the summer months where they would be uncovered, and then wouldn't be so negatively affected as to using it in the early spring or late fall. I do think, though, we should probably adopt something that we can live with and use the same every time for every single person. So it's not just being extended. Whatever we choose, it needs to be kind of something we can live with and our businesses can live with. I fully understand that a temporary structure is not designed forever. And I feel like when we kind of keep moving it down, it's going to keep coming up.
Yep.
So I think the 180 days doesn't really work with reality of the seasons we have in the area. So we should pick something that fits our seasons better. Kind of like when the pool opens and closes in the Park District, you know, Memorial Day to Labor Day type thing. And they would have to file for it and get inspected and all that. But like to kind of keep extending it, I think just keeps kicking the can down the street so we can discuss it every 6 months, which is probably not the best policy.
That was the exact analogy I was about to
I can
use.
agree with that. If we discussed this about 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, we've been kicking the can down the road and we're kind of used to it now. So we have 2 places that aren't holding their structures up with sandbags. They're holding them up with some sort of structural aluminum, something that's holding them up, and they've been up for quite a while. I can't speak to the snow load. I can say that a lot of them the 2 have metal tables and things like that. They're really, I gotta disagree with you, Inspector. There's not much of a fire load underneath these tents as far as, the only thing that's gonna burn is their food and maybe the people, if that, and that they're not gonna burn, and there's plenty of ways to get out because it's a temporary structure. There's not like we have to force them all through a 3.5-foot door. These people, if something were to happen, I think they can get out without a problem. So, to me, we've left it up so long, you know, is there some sort of agreement we can come up with? Because right now, the economy isn't that great, and our people are struggling right now. So what can we do to at least give them? We've just canceled their, last 3 events outside because the rain. And our winter was rough, so what are we doing to support our businesses here? So that's my stance on it. We've left it up this long.
Right.
Right now,
I think-
go ahead.
I think at the very least, since they have been up this long, that at their costs, they need to be inspected and give us a status, how they rank up against all of the standards.
I agree with that.
And then come back and then we can take a look at it to see if we need, you know, if they're going to agree to, you know, repair, upgrade, whatever, and if, you know, if it's something that they don't want to end up doing the repair
Oh, I
on,
agree
that needs to be,
100%.
then it has to go.
I can agree with Trustee Mahoney. Anyone else?
But I mean, I don't want to make any kind of final decision until we get a report, an inspection report on both of them, and go from there. And an understanding of what they want to do if we need to rectify anything.
I like the idea of, I guess, mandating the structural engineer report. We'd probably have to specify what exactly it is that we want that structural engineer to determine, like, you know, snow loads and things like that. We should probably be specific about that.
Absolutely.
Is that something Heinz can do? No.
You gotta remember, that's when we let them have the tents, is it in the summer or winter time. We say you can have it in the winter, take it down during the summer, so, I'm hoping, I would think that they're designed for a snow load in our area, in this part of town.
Well, I think that, like, Ryan asking about what the manufacturer would, usually on things like this, I think that they will not give a rating because they don't know how it's being installed. So the only way to know that at this point is to inspect.
I think
The
it was
connections.
professionally installed, though.
What's that?
I think it was professionally installed. I mean, you
Oh.
know, you don't have the business owners doing it.
No, I understand that, but I'm just saying, the manufacturer, maybe
Maybe
they're-
I'm wrong, I don't know.
They are in the, installing it as well. Maybe they would, but even if they did, I would say that's not current today, because whatever has happened.
In the last
Degrades.
years.
Yeah.
Stakes
wear and tear.
between bricks, erosion, I mean,
Right.
that's, I would doubt it's as solid as it.
Chris, do they have to have a permit to put the tent up?
Yes, they do get a permit, temporary permit, right? So, the two tents we're talking about, Aliano's, they rent their tent, so they don't own it. If it no longer complied with, let's say, it doesn't have the fire retardant basis anymore, they could ask the rental company to give them a new tent, or newer tent, if it didn't comply with that code. The one at Mockingbird, they own that, they purchased that.
And is that something that we inspect and check
Well,
for fire retardant?
the research I did on it was, they recommend taking a knife, cutting part of the tent material and seeing if you light it on fire, does it burn or does it just smolder out? That's what I read, so, that's not something we're probably gonna be doing. There is a life expectancy for the fire retardant. I'm not sure what that is.
Can it be retreated after some
I
time?
don't know if they can be retreated.
I would imagine all fire retardant stuff has to be retreated after so many years. So I guess let's ask the village attorney. Since I just put up a temporary temp for the day at the VFW this past 4th of July, God bless America, whose responsibility is it? Who's at fault when that thing collapses?
The owner?
Well, so on private property, it's the owner's liability. My concern, if you want me to be honest, is that we've got an ordinance on the books that says a temporary structure receives a permit for 180 days. Now we're home rule, we can extend our authority to allow that to go further. Balancing that with fire codes and electrical codes and other codes that we have to look at closely to make sure that we're in compliance. So, looking at the memo today we helped compile this memo. We did some research in other municipalities. Some municipalities opt to put this in their zoning code under a special use where it's monitored a little bit more closely, right? There's conditions on these tents. Other municipalities just don't allow it. They just extend the 180 days as requested. So an applicant has to come before the village board, explain why they want the extension, and the board can allow that or not allow it. And others have just opted to, well, at least in one instance, apparently just keep finding the same entity over and over again with no result. So if you're looking from a liability perspective as a village, we're not liable for the negligence of another, right, on the private property. But my concern always is making sure we treat everybody consistently.
Yeah.
So,
And I think that's an important
Yeah.
notice, because if we're saying, oh, well, Eliana's been doing this for so long, Mike was doing this so long, there's nothing stopping somebody else from sprouting up a new tent
Right.
and then
Tent City.
saying, well, why can't I? They have it, you know?
They would have
So
to
that-
apply for the permit and then.
Except
get
that
inspected.
Aliano's isn't even permitted. So I think that step one of this whole discussion should be demand that Aliano's reapplies for whatever, this 180-day extension, because I remember when it went up, it was temporary because they were going to build a permanent structure.
Yeah, they were gonna add on.
Can
Not-
I just be a further devil's advocate?
Yeah.
So, and maybe this is something else that should be looked at. I've heard some discussion about having them retain a structural engineer, having them get regular inspections at their cost. I wonder what all that would cost in
Right.
light of looking
And they're
into
renting the
getting
tents.
plans to
It's,
build.
at what point does it
and
come cheaper to
because-
build?
Because it's not cheap to get a structural engineer.
No, it's not. I've dealt with that before. Yeah, and at some point, it's going to become cheaper to possibly build something more permanent. But again, I think that if we're gonna have some sort of discussion, or are having this discussion, obviously, but I think that step one for sure, though, is that we should tell them that they have to reapply for an extension, because they did, at one point, get an extension.
They did.
There's no reason why they shouldn't do that again, and have them come here and tell us why they can't make it permanent. I think that would be a good practice.
I just wanna, I will reiterate, I think we need to get a status of the safety of the existing,
Yeah.
in addition to
Well, and
so we can have the owners,
Application.
after their 180 days, come by and explain why they should keep it up. That's on them, however they want to explain it. have the tent company or some sort of engineer saying, yes, it's gonna hold the snow load, whatever, and we go from there, and we do it by a case-by-case basis. Can we do that? That
Well,
makes sense.
I think it's worth also examining our code and finding a way to write this in so that, A, what do you need as far as permitting to build this temporary structure? And B, you know, what are the expectations if you do have them, I guess?
Yeah, I wouldn't want the formula to be, come and ask the board if they think that the electrical and the snow load is fine. And then we have to decide each time whether or not we think that it is, because that, it should be something that we outsource to, like, here's a formula, at your cost, you could do it, and if it doesn't make financial sense, then that's their answer, is they'd invest in, kind of like Diamond Gyms, they did have a tent, like a teepee, a very large one. I think they were told they had to take it down, and since then they've really done great with their property and created some actual structured covered areas and an outdoor bar that's structural, and then just added to Foxy's Hideaway a little structure. So I don't want to punish the people who are following the rules and actually putting in structured things if it really is not allowed. But I'd like to create an avenue of, here's a safe way to do it, and if you can make it work financially, but you will need to make sure that, I'd like a list from our engineers saying electrical's an issue, it shouldn't be like this, it should be like that, or the structure should be in this form, and the snow load and wind load, and then they have to prove it by bringing an engineer's, you know, signature that they have a solution, and then we create a path for that.
Well, all that's with the permit and with the fire inspection, correct? So the only thing they would really have to do is come to us and explain
So-
why they want to be up longer than 180 days.
The permit requirements, though, are something that's for 180 days, not for
Correct.
something that has
Correct.
become
And
permanent.
they
I
would
mean,
have to
the
explain
temporary
to us.
structure doesn't technically comply with the codes, with the snow loads or with the wind loads, or, because it's a temporary structure. It may be able to carry the snow load, but we're not getting snow load numbers on a tent.
So typically the codes were written for like construction sites, if you have like a trailer or a tent out there while you're building your permanent structure, just so that you have a place to stage. That's typically what these codes were designed to do. To create a limitation, to give you an avenue to have somewhere to stage or somewhere to house until your permanent structure is built.
So I think in like COVID times, these tents were pretty awesome. Like, it got people outside eating. I find them still to be kind of nice and airy. I think we need a dining tent code, because this isn't construction sites that we're seeing the issue with. This isn't like homeowners putting a tent in their garage. This is two businesses that clearly need them, and we should have a code that actually can be enforced and not just keep getting moved down by our opinion on those businesses, because when they ask for variances, now they're up to our decision if we're giving them or not. It was one kind of in stone, and if we want to keep doing this, we probably need a dining code where it's just those tents that are used for dining, and then we can decide what that means, how long, what the intent is.
How often for inspection?
Yeah, like, then we can actually have something, and they can be used for nothing else. But on the other hand, who am I to say how that thing is safe? Because obviously you can just jump out the window of a tent, let's be honest, like, it's not a whole lot, but there's a whole lot of liability. We hold our whole town to a standard, and I don't like the idea of us having rules, but we enforce them sometimes and we don't the other time.
Not for others.
So, like, we need to get squared away on this is our rules, and then we have to enforce them, is kind of my stance on it. And if we wanted to make a different rule for dining structures, then we should come up with that ordinance, lengthen it so that our inspectors and stuff don't have to keep coming here and talking about it. Be like, no, they're past, and I find, you know, like, you went after them because they're past a certain time, and that's that. And then let the legal system take it over from there, so.
It's the precedent that it's
Yeah.
setting, that's the
Yeah.
big thing.
Well, we've set the precedent because it's been up, both of them have been up for a couple of years now. So that's what I'm trying to do, is work out to where we can give them a timeline, like, the summer's already halfway over. So is this something we can tell them you have to spring next year, and then you need to have it removed, and there's not gonna be any extension?
That
That's
is
what we
the
did last
approach
year.
we've done
So
many
first
times, actually.
I like
Yeah,
trustee
that's exactly what's
Oakland's
been told
idea.
them before, but, there is an avenue to do that already, and that's the 180-day extension. So I think we give them the extension now, tell them 180 days, they have to come before us and tell us why they can't make it permanent. And in the meantime, work on our code. Maybe we need to have a new category of semi-permanent.
Temporary as permanent.
You're just asking for trouble at that point.
Yeah. I just think whatever the board decides, however we create a new category, if we amend our current ordinance, it should just be very objective standards that are followed, that if someone comes before the board, you could look at the objective standards and say yes or no to that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Can we do that? I think we can do that.
Yeah, not do we
That
want
makes
to be nice, it's like, does it meet these criteria?
I like
Agreed.
it. Okay.
But I think you're
Good.
saying 180 from now and then boom,
Well,
at a
for
time.
180 from the time that they apply and get approved for their current.
Apply and get
Can
approved.
they
Well,
come back-
180 days
can they
from
come
now
back
is gonna be in the winter, they're gonna say,
They
cause
can
winter's
reapply,
coming,
right?
and I wanna have it under winter.
Can they? Yeah.
Can they?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, they can reapply. I was thinking about this, if they were to reapply and give them 180 days, that would put us into January, when the tent would have to come down if you decided that. So perhaps you give them, instead of 180 days, you give them 60 days, and then 180 days to get them through the winter, something along those lines.
I like that, but in 60 days, they're gonna say winter's coming and we need to cover it up. So that's why I suggested let's go to the fall, or to the spring.
Can we
Give
just
them
extend
That's
it
what
until
that's what he's trying to do.
May
That's what he was
31st?
saying.
That's what he said.
He
Yeah.
said 60
That's what he
and
said.
then
If
180.
that, yeah, that's what I'm saying, if you wanna do it till
okay, I
May,
apologize.
May 31st, something along those lines, where they're gonna be covered throughout the winter,
Okay.
rather than having them take it down in January.
I would highly recommend a very thorough inspection and make sure there's no life safety threatening issues
Right.
if the board is going to do that.
And they can
So-
even have it signed off like Mocking, or Allianz, if they're having it rented, they can have the paperwork from the company or whoever.
And just so I have some direction, it sounds like the board would like to maybe create a pathway that just restaurants or dining establishments with tents can seek extension under objective criteria?
It's a
No.
semi-permanent structure. right,
Correct.
trustee Coonsey?
Correct, so if they want to extend it another 180 days, they gotta explain to the board why, and they have to have the proper documentation that it's gonna hold its structural integrity, and it's got the fire resistant ratings and that type of stuff. How's that?
And a reason why, so like for instance, we are going to build, but we're not gonna start construction for another 8 months or 10 months or something like that. Okay.
So if that's the case, we might as well just 180 it again. I think what we're looking for is like an ordinance that we can enforce. So if we give them till May 31st, that gives the village to come up with a dining ordinance by that time when they had to take it down, right? So like I was saying before, if we went seasonal, because that's what we're saying, these are extensions of the interior so that they can use more dining, have more dining experience. We set that rule then, and we don't extend it for anybody. We follow that rule, and that's it.
Then that's it.
And that's it. And like, I feel like that's the best way to do it for everybody.
Well, I
Because
think
if we
that's what
keep,
our attorney was suggesting, is we gotta have some sort of, things that we're gonna follow, because we just can't do it on, oh, yeah, you know what, that was a good, yeah, I like your idea, let's just go with that, some favoritism. We gotta have some sort of
Kelly,
structure.
can you see if any other villages have an ordinance on
And dining
dining
tents?
structures?
I can take a look.
tents?
I don't think so, but I will take a look.
I do think the 60 days he brings up though, before making it to May 31st, could be like find out how safe it is right now. You have 60 days to have someone come out and inspect and all of that. Like, I think we can be pretty firm on that.
so it'd be 60
That's
days
fair,
and
is
then
that
180
fair, Chris?
extension.
You suggested it, so give them 60 days right now, and then they could reapply?
As long as they go and get it inspected and find out about the fire retardant.
Yeah, I'm okay with whatever, the board decides. I just wanna be able to, enforce the codes that we have,
Yeah.
I think if we're gonna do 60
Equally
days,
across.
we tell them they gotta apply for 60 days. I don't think we just say, we're not gonna even talk about this for
Well,
60
and
days.
we say they, we mean anybody that has these
Temporary.
structures.
Yeah.
That's what I wanna be clear about.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And
Correct.
just because I'm not sure.
Well, we have
For-
two.
For
but we-
Mockingbird, are we talking about that yurt, that like little tiny
Yeah.
thing?
No, the one off the side next to
Yeah, the
the
black, the
park.
black
By the
structure,
bike-
yes.
yeah.
Bike path.
So if we give them 60 days to reapply for another 180 days, because that will take them through the winter.
Mhm.
So we'll give them 60 days, let them reapply. Is that what we're talking?
We're saying reapply right now
Right now.
for 60 days. Or can we say, well, 60 days, and then as a condition of that 60 days, we're going to say, you need to prove to us that this is structurally sound.
So,
Yes.
so my direction then would be the next village board meeting, we have a resolution ready to extend for 60 days, conditioned upon them showing objective criteria back at another meeting, why they would want 180 days,
And the safety.
and the safety requirements.
Standards.
Okay.
Yes.
And then,
And
that,
who
and then in the
defines-
interim, we will create a text amendment that will hopefully filter these objective criteria.
Something like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
We
Chris, you
all,
look as confused as me.
Pardon me?
You look as confused as me with this right now. Go ahead. Did you have something to say?
No.
Yes,
Mm.
yes, I like that. I think that makes sense.
So I think what I'm hearing, and maybe if I'm wrong, please let me know. So they reapply right now, today, tomorrow. They come back before the board at the next village board meeting. By resolution, the village board will consider granting them a 60-day extension on the temporary permit. In 60 days, they come back with this objective criteria and an inspection, making sure there's no life safety issues, that they have some sort of reason why they're looking for the 180 days,
Possibly some manufacturer specs.
maybe some specs, I don't know, whatever the list is. They come back before the board, and the board decides whether they're gonna give them an additional 180 days.
Right.
I'm gonna throw a monkey wrench in this. Did we give either of those two that have these structures who it affects, I believe that's the only two we have in town right now, did we already give them 180 days extension? Or did we give
Oh, yeah.
them
We have-
a temporary
Well, Aliano's has received previously, I think it was 2 to 3 years ago.
correct, but if our inspector gave him another 180 days, 30 days ago, well, then he's got 150 days left. So
No,
that's
we have
what
not
I'm asking.
given them 180.
We haven't given
extension.
anybody an
No.
extension?
No,
More than 2
no,
years.
nobody has an extension
I
right now.
can't see that inspection of a tent is gonna change in 60 days.
But what it does
So why don't
is it's
we-
accountability.
Correct. But
And
why
I
don't
think
we
that's
wait till the
important.
60 days and say, hey, you wanna keep the same tents up that you've had for 5 years, in 60 days, you have 60 days to budget and get an inspection done.
We are-
So we know
We are gonna
that
say
the next 180 days is gonna hold
That's,
up.
that's,
We are gonna
that's
say
what you said.
I thought you just said we're gonna do an inspection now.
No, no, we're not
and then
doing
go
this.
another-
They have 60 days to do it.
But we,
Okay, I
but they do
apologize.
have to apply now
makes
for a
sense.
60-day extension,
Okay.
because right now they're unlicensed.
But that's a 60-day
They're
inspection that's
unpermitted,
gonna
they're
take them to the end of the
unlicensed.
summer.
There's no
and then they-
extensions right now.
It's not a it's, they have 60 days in order
Or,
to
let's
get
say
the
let's
inspection.
say 90 days, let's do
And-
90
And I
days.
just wanna be,
Get them till October.
the code, I just wanna
Something
throw
like that.
another, the code does say it is the building inspector's purview.
Mhm.
So if Chris can give them an extension or not give them an extension, I think what we're talking about is you want them back before the board anyway on this 180-day plus issue.
Mhm. Yes.
What I was saying is that they're gonna want an extension for summer,
Right.
or for winter, I apologize. So it's already July, so they're gonna say, okay, can we leave it up to the end of the summer? So that takes us to September, whatever. So 30, 60 days, 90 days, whatever it is. They're gonna apply for another 180. So can, the one inspection they have, is that gonna take them to the spring for next year? Or do they have to do 2 inspections within 60 or 90 days?
Well, I mean, we could do a little better math and say we've got, from here it's 90 days extension, and then 180 days, which would get them through spring. We could just do a little math
Okay.
and figure that out, so they can get through the winter up until the
The
end of
timing
May.
steps, yeah.
It's
Right.
one inspection in 90 days, and then the 180 is after they show us that they can be safe for the 180.
Is-
And then
Are we
beyond
good with
that-
that, board?
They need to.
I think that's
good with
fair.
Yes.
I think it's fair.
Kelly, got it?
I think I got it. I'll talk to Chris.
Go.
I'll rewatch the tapes.
Would it be
90
helpful
days.
to have a certificate of insurance that labels the village as
I would think
covered
they need
from
that for a
collapse?
permit, don't they?
They should already have that for a liquor license.
For a tent structure?
Typically, for construction on your own property, you don't need insurance policy naming the village, but it's something, when we do this text amendment, we can consider going forward as one of the criteria.
And then in this plan, who's defining the criteria?
I think you all are.
We are.
We are.
With the assistance of maybe some experts that are far more knowledgeable about loads and fire ratings and
And
snow and
Kelly's gonna
electrical.
see if
Do
she
we
can find
want-
some sample ordinances from other municipalities.
I don't think so, because we did a pretty big survey on temporary structures and tents, but we will take a look.
Do we want to do like the discussion now of what we're looking for, so that you guys got some direction?
No, I think we would
I
take
think we
our
wanna give them-
recommendations from our inspector,
Right
and
now.
our fire inspector.
We wanna get them licensed.
It's, I wasn't
That's
talking
what we're
about
doing
if the building
right
should
now,
be up
is
or
get
not.
them under permit, license, whatever.
Well, we can't do that unless we have criteria as to what
The
means.
criteria is going to be whatever it was the last
What
time we
it currently
extended.
is.
As long as it's gonna hold people up, but
When they would be.
But it's not really, we
Okay,
agree
we-
it should be safe, but we don't really have a list of criteria of what a year-round structure would
I
be.
understand.
That's,
And that's,
I'm not
that's
prepared to
giving
talk about
us,
that today. I
the
agree
60
with
to
you.
90 days gives us that time to figure what that out
To develop the
is.
criteria.
Correct.
The
We got
60
enough right
to
now to
90
go.
day
But yeah.
extension that they're going for now has nothing to do with that. All it is to get them to realize they don't get a permanent extension.
Right.
We've been
We
lax
already
on our
realized
side.
that. 'cause
We're
we
going to
told them.
rectify that right now and get them to come in and do the permit process.
I'm just trying to ask if we could have our engineers give us their recommendations since we have this task coming.
I think because it is a temporary structure, I don't think that would be a viable option.
I think we're good right now. I think giving them that extension and then bringing them in, let them talk and letting us say, hey, we know your burden on our town and with your business for the winter, but during the summer you're gonna need to make some adjustments. And I think we're good. I think we can draw something up, right?
Yep.
Okay, let's do that. Let's draw something up and then we can meet on it later. Let's go to C, motion to approve ordinance amending section 123.02 of the village code entitled definitions in sections 153, 157 of the zoning ordinance defining gaming cafes. I read enough of it.
Just for the record, trustee Guma is leaving the room for conflict purposes.
All right, wait,
I think we have to
we have to
make
make
the
the
motion,
motion, yeah.
Yes, we need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve an ordinance amending section 123.02 of the village code entitled definitions and sections 157.003 and 157.050 of the zoning ordinance defining gaming cafe and creating a use of gaming cafe as a special use in the B2 and B3 zoning districts in the village of East Dundee.
Can we get a
Second.
Okay. Let's have some discussion. Let's start with trustee Saviano.
The 2,500 feet thing,
I agree.
we're small. What if we do like per strip mall or something like that?
I think the point, when we had this discussion,
Right,
we said 2,500 is going to be oppressive, and we're okay with that, because we don't need that many gaming cafes.
right, and I think like if we did a per strip mall thing, I think that that's not even opening it up for many, but I just think that to me, it makes me laugh when I actually think about the 2,500 feet and how little
Let's be good. Franco
I just-
and
I'm
I
just
are
bringing
both
up,
encouraging some of our businesses out east to develop more. And going off what trustee Saviano says is if we have another strip mall built across the street, now we have 3,500. Right now, we have two businesses that have been in there the past 2 years, and we can't get anybody in there. We're struggling. We have empty businesses here in our historical district. Yes, I don't want them in our historical district. But the last thing we want to do is tell businesses, nah, you know what, we want something else, and when we're not the ones putting the money and stuff. So like before, I can say, let's have one per business, and then it's a special use, and we can authorize them based off of coming to the board, and we can
decide then, because we're hoping that there's gonna be more development out east. So to say, to limit it is difficult. Is that what you're kind of saying?
Yeah, because it's like, that's far out there enough, there's not a lot going on, and it's an empty strip mall. If a gaming cafe wanna go over there, I don't know, I don't have a problem with it, over by Tijuana's.
Right.
Over where?
Tio,
Next to the coffee
Tio Ramos.
place.
Oh, Tio Ramos.
Yeah. You know,
Trustee Sauter?
And they couldn't right now with the 2,500 be out there?
They
Because
could.
where's the next one?
That could is what we're looking for.
no, they
It's just
couldn't
down
with the
the road.
2,500, if we did that, they couldn't.
Because
If
there's one on
2,500 is
25
gonna
already.
limit it, then we're gonna have to come right back to the board.
2,500 is a half mile.
That's our town.
If I'm looking at it on the GIS, I believe it looks like it's 3,600 feet away, they knew,
From where?
From the most current one?
from Lulu's.
So this is
Up to 25.
So
The old
it would be
Royals.
permitted.
So they
Okay.
could.
It's a special
I did my
use.
numbering wrong.
Yeah, it would be permitted via special use, but that location would be permitted because it's
I'm
over.
sorry, yes, permitted is the wrong word. I should
So
say.
do we need a number when we can
Wow.
just, it's special use anyway, so do we really need a number?
Yes, we do. Again, we had this discussion. This isn't,
I
like,
know, but
we're having a
times are
discussion
changing.
now, I understand that, but,
I don't think there's anything wrong with reiterating it and discussing more.
okay, well, I will reiterate that
I mean, that's fine.
2,500 feet is, I mean, how many, we could have a gaming cafe in literally every empty storefront in this town if we wanted to. That's how eager people are to put them in, because they suck up money, which, by the way, is money that is given away by our residents or other people like that through, gambling. And I'm not against gambling. I'm not saying we can't have slot machines. All I'm saying is 2,500 feet for a gaming cafe is a good number.
I agree.
That's what
agree.
I would say. And I don't think we can get one in by Tio Ramos. We can get one there.
Yeah,
Because it
I know,
fits.
like I said, I did the numbers wrong, like it's.
I think
good.
that's.
I respectfully disagree. I get that, but again, I'm thinking of what you and Trustee Mahoney has been through in how many years of dealing with gaming. Do we need to put a number? It's already a special use. So it's going to be in front of the board anyway. So if we have a couple strip malls that aren't even facing 72, that are directly south of 72, then we gotta come right back and now we gotta adjust it because now it's 2,500 feet. Why can't we just leave it up right now it's a special use and we do it case by case? We know it's going to be one per strip mall. And then if somebody wants to put something else in, if we have a gaming cafe closed right now and then they decide to open up with somebody else, they're gonna have
That's
to.
not a problem.
Hopefully it's not a problem, but it's a new owner. So my thought is, we've already made it a special use, why can't we just discuss as a board, because times change constantly right now. And we have empty buildings right now that aren't putting any money into our town. And we're telling people, no, we don't want these. So we're telling our citizens right now that we're not willing to make a little bit of money to help you out, is what I feel like I'm hearing right
We're-
now.
We're saying, I think that what you're saying is not 100% correct, because we're not talking about making money from the village by producing a good and selling it. We're talking about, again, extracting money from people.
We're not, we're getting taxes from every business that's in town. And
Yes,
if we don't,
but we have businesses in our town that we don't feel we don't need 100 strip clubs, right?
Well, and
How many strip clubs do you think we should have? If we could get a strip club on every corner, would you like that idea?
well, we can always go to the extreme. I'm not going to the extreme, I'm just
Well,
saying.
all I'm trying to say is
It's
there are
already-
different businesses,
It's already
and there
a
is
special permit.
reason to
Why
limit,
can't we deal with it?
because if you're gonna deny a special use permit, you have to have some
a standard.
standard, some reasoning behind it. You can't just say, well, I don't like it.
No, we don't like
Because
to.
there's one too close to it. Unless it's in your code, and then you could say that.
Right. The other thing.
Anybody can apply correct me if I'm wrong, for a special use that's next door to another gaming cafe.
We
And they would
also-
just ask for a variance from this stipulation.
That's true, that is true. They could ask for a variance,
But
that
this
would-
will at least give us a reasoning to say no.
I also think we need to be careful about creating this, opportunity as like the universal panacea for all of the income that could potentially come into the village, via gaming. Andy did some really great research a couple years ago, and I think it was you, where you evaluated the amount of money that is extracted or produced, I should say, produced by a gaming machine doesn't increase by the same amount the more gaming machines that you add on. The returns reduce as you add on more gaming machines because they're spreading out the number of places where people will go to game. So it's not like if our current one, what'd you say? He was not here, that's right. A gaming machine produces $50K in income for or $30K for the income for the restaurant or the bar, and we get 5 or 4 or whatever it is percent tax on that. We're not gonna be scaling it. It's not gonna get geometrically bigger. It's gonna get smaller per machine that's added.
per machine, but collectively, it might not get smaller.
So we also have
Right.
an owner that
But it's-
sold us some property for the garage that won't allow us to put a bar or a restaurant in the front of the garage because he thinks it's going to contend with his business. So if the board had that thought also, we would have no other businesses in here, no other restaurants or bars in this town. We have a lot of bars, we have a lot of beauty salons. So why, we have a lot of open spaces since the past year that I've gotten on and the years prior. So why are we stopping businesses from coming in? That doesn't make sense. I would think if I'm gonna invest $500,000 in a business, I'm gonna do my due diligence to make sure I can sell enough coffee or get enough people in the seats to make that business work. Why are we regulating that instead of letting the business owners do that? Because that's literally what's paying for our infrastructure right now.
To be fair though, like they said, they can come in and ask for a variance, and so because variance in the special use, so I don't have a problem with that as long as there's an avenue for them still to do it if they want to, and us to still consider it. You know, I want that. I don't want to close us off to things, but if there's still a route they could take, I think that that's fair. And then if they want it bad enough, they'll be diligent and they'll come to us and ask for the variance and have data backing them, you know? That matters.
Yeah, the video gaming, sorry to jump in on
Yeah,
it.
no, sorry.
The video gaming is a huge asset to the bars and restaurants. That is what helps them through tough times, and that kind of balances out a little bit the negative impacts that gambling has when there's too much of it in a community. But it is a nice help and support for the bars. But I feel like I don't want as many of the gaming cafes because they don't help out a bar. They're not pulling people in to help support something that everybody wants, because everybody wants the bars to succeed and the restaurants to succeed. Not everybody wants to go to a gaming cafe or put their business next to a gaming cafe, and it's not, if you look at the property values of commercial locations, that's not your highest property value right next to a gaming cafe. That's usually the bottom. So the more of those we add, we kind of are lowering the value of those properties. We're pulling people out of the bars to go spend there. So less money goes into the bars, unless we really flip it and say our brand is we're a casino town, like we're gonna get everyone from here to Rockford into our town to just gamble. Then maybe the more the better, but I feel like we have a ton of them in our downtown. Keeping the gaming cafes out of the downtown, And having few of them, I think, is a big asset to the downtown.
It is true, offsetting food costs and stuff was a big plus for us, being okay with a certain amount of
Mhm,
gaming and
yeah.
stuff. And so it does totally like dilute that. When you have gaming cafes, their purpose is just gaming. So I don't think we're shooting ourselves in the foot, because if a restaurant wants to come in and ask for gaming, they'll come to us next week.
Yeah, that's different.
You know,
Okay.
so the cafes,
I'm just looking
Not
across the
amount
river
I'm
where they're
prepared
struggling
to buy.
right now with anything, and they're downtown, and I don't wanna limit us because what somebody
they can
wants.
still come and ask for the
Correct.
variance.
Do you
I
think it
like
would be a
that.
win for them if it was all gaming cafes covering their downtown? Like, that would be a good thing for their brand. It is laughable because, no.
Yeah.
But that's why I think limiting it a little bit, we all know that doesn't up the value
Well,
of that property.
The thing I gotta remember, it's a cafe, it's not a restaurant, right?
Right, and as long as they
Yeah.
have an avenue, if they really
Yeah.
want
If
to.
they really want something
You
and
can
things
try.
change, we can.
Yes.
serve them.
Speaking of that,
Yeah.
I'd be open to, if you want to make it easier for a gaming cafe, I'd be very open to striking a gaming cafe must have a commercial kitchen or a partnership with a local restaurant. I think,
I'm okay with
I
that.
mentioned this when this came up last time, this feels like it's just a thing to make it harder for these.
No, I think that was
Gaming cafes.
mirroring the state statute, wasn't it? It's gotta have some sort of, no? It's
No,
just gotta
it's-
offer some sort of food or something?
They do have to offer food, but how they've been, my observation is how they've been getting around it is they'll put a
They have a
package
bag
of
of
like
chips.
those tiny lunch little bags of
Right.
chips up front.
Or a menu from the restaurant
And-
right next door?
And again, I think it's absolutely ridiculous that the state has decided to tie alcohol to gaming.
I agree.
I don't think that we have to follow that logic and say, and demand, more food or whatever. I think that.
Yeah.
So is that
We
something we
already,
can
we already,
strike?
based on the memo, we already
I'm gonna
planned
be
on
honest,
striking
though.
it.
Well, it's still in there.
As a possibility.
Because what they said was, they don't have to have a commercial kitchen because they can just have a partnership with a local restaurant.
Which is
Which
a menu
is-
for a menu for a
I mean,
restaurant.
I guess that is the question, what does that indicate? What does that mean if they have a partnership with a local
You have to
restaurant?
offer food, right? So
What's that?
they have to offer food and
You
make
can
food
order
available.
food for the people next door.
I'm
and
okay
make
with
Oh, it is
available.
still in here, I
I'm
see.
okay with
I
striking.
was looking at the memo,
I don't,
wasn't-
I'll be honest, I don't think it's a big compliance. Like, you have to talk to a restaurant down the street and put two
Right, it's
menus
not
in
that
there.
hard.
So like, if these guys, like, from the whole thing, I don't think it's hard for them to do that, you know? So, I'll be honest, I think we had a really good discussion of this before, and it's kind of what we all came up with. Like, we are calling it to vote today. So, that's kind of like the view is it a yes or no, right? Like, we can amend, I understand that part of it, but like, we did have a big discussion already on this. I've stated my points on gaming over and over again. I don't want our restaurant to be out-competed by another restaurant on the other side of the river or whatever it is, and that's why I voted the way I did before. But this, we had a discussion, and it was to limit to 4
thorough.
and 2,500 feet, and if they want the variance, they can get it. I think we're good.
Yeah, as far as the
I'm fine
food,
with
who
that.
cares? I mean, if a cafe wants to call up the restaurant next door and say, hey, can you guys bring food if people order it? That just benefits the whole town.
I
Both
agree with
businesses, so
that,
why
but
not
it's
just
not
leave it?
really defined what this partnership is.
It isn't, and that's
So-
a case by case.
It's
basis.
ambiguous.
So a partnership with a local restaurant for food for order is required, or is that what you don't know what that means? Is that what you're saying?
Well, what does that mean? Does that mean that the restaurant has to be on call whenever this company wants to
When
bring
they're open?
catering to this place and have a hot pan set up with food? What does that mean?
It's ambiguous.
Or
I'm
does
okay
it
with
mean that they
striking
put
it.
a menu on the counter?
Yeah.
Those are very, very different things.
So we'd have to make a motion to amend the original motion in order to strike it, correct? And then we'd have to vote on that motion, and then,
Well, it'd be a motion to amend, but I think everyone needs to be on the same page as to what you want that amendment to say.
Yeah.
Are we okay with amending the commercial kitchen or partnership with local restaurant required? I think that they're probably gonna do that mechanically anyway if they want to.
Correct.
If
Yeah,
not,
I don't
I
think
would
that
want to
really
Us
encourage
forcing
them
them?
though. I would
Yeah, I think
encourage
it's
them that, hey,
fine.
go talk to the restaurant right down the street. Because anybody that owns a restaurant would love to do that.
Yeah,
So to me,
that's their.
why not just
prerogative.
leave it in there? Just leave it how it is because
Do you wanna just strike the have a commercial kitchen portion? Gaming cafe must have a partnership with a local restaurant?
I mean, I don't think that we need to do that. I mean, it's either or.
Yeah, it is
so,
either or.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's fine.
Or,
Yeah.
or whatever.
I think the main point of this whole ordinance, or the reason that I think I requested that we define this, is because without this, somebody could open up a bar in our downtown that's really a gaming cafe because we have no definition of what it is. So this,
Yeah.
I think the other parts of it are the main point, and that I don't think makes a big
Where other
difference.
municipalities have adopted similar regulations like you're seeing here is because the concern is exactly that, like what's the difference between this and a casino, right?
Yeah.
so are we striking it or not?
Let's leave it,
Leave it.
I agree.
and let's.
Yeah. Whichever.
All right.
So after that, no amendments.
No change.
No
Just as
amendments.
is.
But we talked it out to feel better.
We do.
We do.
I agree with you. All right. That brings us to our report.
Hold on.
No, no,
It's
you
a-
gotta
it's a
vote.
vote.
We have to vote on this, yeah. Call the question, please, Gail.
Trustee Saviano,
Yes.
Trustee Coonsey,
Yes.
Trustee Mahoney,
Yes.
Trustee Oakland,
Yes.
Trustee Guma stepped out, Trustee Sauter,
Yes.
All right. Trustee Saviano. give
Wait,
us
we
your
gotta get
report.
Guma back in.
Oh, yeah, we can or we can keep talking about it and keep them out there for a while.
All right, first of all, I love our circuitous route conversations and where we come back to, like, it's good to talk about.
It is actually, believe it or not.
It is, it's helpful. I just wanna say, that, I'm very sad Mother Nature made it so that we didn't have our Independence Day 250 party and event this weekend. But since we're like the new Tornado Alley clearly and stuff, we gotta get used to this life. But otherwise, the bronze sculptures arrived, and we are so excited to be planning the installation, and we're coordinating with West Dundee right now, and that is just, I'm just super giddy with excitement on that. So stay tuned for the
Hope you can
the
get some
date.
photographers to take pictures and put it at the next art show.
Yeah, oh yeah, we're on that.
We got somebody.
Yeah, we're gonna do a ribbon cutting. We're gonna, yeah, it'll be a huge thing. So we're excited. That's all.
Okay. Trustee Sauter?
Yeah, shout out to the Banditos fireworks. Watch those. Those were great. It was interesting. I think the rain had some impact and things went a little later than expected because there were technical difficulties. But yeah,
Mark's still
Did you sit on
recovering.
your
He's got
front porch and
PTSD
watch
over it.
back porch for the third finale segment. After a while, I was like, I'll catch the rest at home because it's a block away. But yeah, huge crowd, a lot of people out. And then a little side project over the weekend. Dug through, Phil showed a few of us trustees, and we had our tour of the village. The archive room that has very old books, and I wanted to go back and just see what was in there, but found that there were, our village was incorporated 1888 actually. We say 87 on the logo, but I did find the ledger book from the village meetings
Fiscal year.
from 1887.
Thank God we haven't done the signs yet.
So, and then halfway through that book, there's like a seal stamp that says incorporated 1888 in April. So solve that mystery. But there's,
Wasn't 1871 set at
Where are those
1.2?
records kept?
yeah, I
Just pick a
remember
year.
when the logo was designed, there were,
A thing up there that said.
Where are
there was
those records
ambiguity.
kept?
What's that?
Where are those records kept?
In the Public Works building near the Water Treatment Center.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've emailed about it. It would be pretty inexpensive for us to get a camera that's for shooting these books. We could digitize them, put all the photos up so all the residents could access them and see them. And we'll probably get some history buff volunteers to do the work. To send these all out somewhere could be $8,000 to $12,000, but for $500 we could just do it with some volunteer labor. So that's the goal, is to try to get those out and open to the public so people could read them and see what's in there.
Awesome.
I mean,
I suggested let's get that first police officer and get that picture mounted in the police station. I think that would be neat.
oh, that would be very cool.
Super cool.
Yeah, they, on the very first page, after they were incorporated, there's an ordinance about the blacklist, because they were a bar town already,
great.
and they had a blacklist of who's not allowed to drink at the bars.
Really?
And then there's like, people come before the board and ask if their son could please get off the blacklist so he could drink again with his buddies, and they allowed it, and there's very interesting stuff like that.
What did I say our new art show should be called?
You
The
should have
Black
brought
Blacklist.
that up because
There
we
you
should
go.
have that ordinance in place. So we need
Yeah,
to
we
check
should bring
on
back
that.
the blacklist.
Yes.
I would say that would be a very entertaining board meeting to
That
hear
would be
those
awesome.
requests.
Yeah, I think that is the camera system that the police were looking at, is a bit of a blacklist system that you can just correct somebody.
All right.
So yeah, that's all.
Okay, did I talk to you, trustee Kinsey? Go ahead.
Phil, I noticed on the Hager building, where all those bricks fell off above the sign, if you walk next to the building, it's starting to look like more of it's going to fall down. It's starting to come off the building at the top. I don't know if it's the rain we've been having or whatever, but it's definitely on the north side, yes, where it already fell down. It just looks like it's going to happen again soon, so we should probably look at knocking those off ourselves in a planned way rather than an accident way. That's all I have.
All right, trustee Mahoney.
Thanks to police, Mark, St. Mark, I'm gonna call him over the fireworks and dealing with all that. And Public Works, Franco, for dealing with all the, and your team for dealing with all the weather, and the changes over the last weekend, with the different events. They were really great. I did notice that there were some people, you know how invested I am about this pie contest, that post pictures of their pies on Facebook. And it'd be really cool to do a little story in the biweekly for people. And I've got my picture I can send to one of you guys, to send to Catherine, if we could just put it all together and put it in the newsletter for people that aren't on Facebook. You can just pull it off of that one Facebook post. We do have a July 22nd meeting. It's scheduled for the community events. We'll be talking about the Dora. We'll be talking about Oktoberfest and future events that are coming up. And so if there's anything that you need or want to add or requests for that, let us know. And then I can't tell you, I think I've gone to the GIS zoning map 3 times in the last 2 weeks. Once for these trees to understand where B estate and B1 were exactly, R1, and then went there a couple times for that, and then also to understand the B2, B3 on this gaming cafe. So it's really great. And as a special bonus, you can click on a property, your neighbor's property, and if you forget their spouse's first name, you can see it right there if it's registered, and not in a trust, something like that. So there's that little special bonus. So thank you for all the work that's been put in on that. Really appreciate it, and I encourage other people to use it if they haven't seen it.
Trustee Aquila?
Yeah, I just want to say the fireworks were super fun. I actually enjoyed the delay. I don't want to know why it happened, but like the little delays, we were cheering for like the next go ahead and actually placing somewhat of bets, not monetary, but if it was going to go again. It was a great time at my home, watching them go off and on. But it got me thinking about it too, as like I did miss the fireworks discussion because I wasn't in that meeting. But I do want us to follow up on it because, like, the fireworks do bring the community together, and they also, I feel, and I could be wrong because I'm not a police officer in the street, I do feel it keeps people watching the public displays rather than making their own. I could be wrong, but I feel that personally. I know there's a lot out there.
Those delays also had fireworks going off in other sections of town.
So, I don't know. So like, I just personally feel like it's safe to have that done by the community somewhere so that people can see it. I know the river is not the best place, though I did find out a couple other places do it on the river too. So like, congratulations for us kind of setting the standard. Hopefully they start changing their ways too. But I would like to see if we could entertain another park or something like that to do fireworks, and then maybe finding a median. I'm always trying to find like that common ground of fireworks that don't have like the most obnoxious booms, but more our displays, so that we're not affecting the animals as much, but yet the people that enjoy them can see them. Some conscientious fireworks. I know people like the drone shows, but I think with it being the 4th of July, it's probably like the #1 day those things are rented, so good luck, right? So, and then they sit in a box the rest of the year. So I've been working also with the village on the riverfront restoration. There's a couple of cool things we got moving. Hopefully we'll see some plans soon. So it sounds like that's moving forward, so I'm really excited about that. So that's all I got.
Okay. Trustee Guma?
No report?
All right, Phil?
Just a quick update, Barrington Avenue pavement removal is scheduled to begin tomorrow.
Yay.
All right, Brandis?
We wrapped up our
Yeah.
audit, so we'll have our auditors here to present, the first meeting in August. We're starting our budget cycle, so you should have received an email from me. If you need any assistance with putting together your projects, let us know. And that's it for me.
How's the budget going?
It's done.
Chris?
Some months.
No report.
Chief?
I just want to call it, I don't know if Chief Fordyce mentioned it, and I think it was in a couple of bi-weekly reports, and I know everybody's inundated with reports, but about a month or 6 weeks ago, we had a cargo theft of nearly $500,000. Detective Immaculitis did solve that case.
Oh my gosh, that's wonderful.
One person's been arrested, there's one warrant outstanding.
That's awesome.
He's been doing outstanding work, so I just want to highlight that real quick. If anybody, criminals are watching the video.
So, $500,000 of what?
Perfume and cologne.
Oh, really? Wow.
It was headed to a grand opening of a store, got diverted here, parked here,
Nice.
and then they transferred it out into another semi-truck.
Can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
We read about these in your reports, or Fordyce's reports. Seems happens fairly often that there's some theft in these. Are they always in the same parking lot?
Well, we have technically 3 different parking lots now, or managed by 3 different
Right.
companies.
Right.
They're happening frequently in, all.
All, it's not one that's particularly bad.
I mean, one is because it's larger, right, just based
Okay,
on
sure,
percentage. That's how I would say it, but even if it's not in East Dundee, it's happening in another location.
I'm sure, yeah.
It's a very tough thing to police, secure.
Kelly?
No report.
Kelly?
Changes in Illinois law afoot, one on to-go cocktails or COVID styles, so our firm will be sending out a report on that. The other is the intoxicating hemp has been
Yes.
amended by state law. You'll recall the feds passed something limiting the THC standards in cannabis, so look for another alert from us on that too, coming up soon.
Hopefully the weather holds up. We have the wind down Wednesday, this Wednesday.
This Friday. Or
Wednesday.
Wednesday. So, I'm gonna have to say, a lot going on that we've had to cancel recently, which really stinks, so the events committee, sorry. And then you have Catherine that's been pulling her hair out, so kudos to her. I want to recognize that we had a lot going on between our PW and Phil, always on call and always meeting up with Catherine and talking with Franco on the 4th of July, and we had to force back police officers to work and stuff. So it's, it's really important that
I know you guys do it, that we all have to say thank you for all the work that they put forth. It's a lot that our town puts on, especially during the summertime, so thank you all to your hard work. Plus, you have Erica that is no longer here, so everybody between Kayla and Brandis and Phil and Franco are having to juggle a lot more stuff. So, and they are. I get text messages on a daily basis from Franco, keeping me updated with everything. Way more than I've gotten before, which I love. I like to be updated. It's phenomenal. And he's very, very busy. So I just want to say thank you to everybody for your hard work. It's been a lot, and it's just been a month. So just dig in a little bit. We got a few more months of the summer, so please smile and wave, right, Brandis? Because you're back. Okay.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
I don't believe we have anything else for executive session, so I guess I'll entertain a motion to adjourn, unless we have anything for executive session.
I'll make a
Kelly, I'll
motion
see you
to-
at lunch tomorrow.
I'll make
Right?
a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay.
Aye.
Aye.
All kind
All in
of.
favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Caleb's like, aye.
No one's opposed.